There was guys out there 60 doing it, so I guess you get used to it.
Yeah, make the money while you can, I guess.
Do you get ragged out here?
So, well, sometimes, sometimes the stress of the business altogether.
After Toby Keith's death, the world of country music seemed to stop breathing. Stadiums that once shook with his voice now sat in silence. Bars where his anthems played on repeat suddenly felt hollow. Fans across America grieved, replaying his words and melodies, clinging to the swagger, the pride, the humor, and the defiance that had always defined him. But while tributes poured in across the nation, something much quieter unfolded within the walls of his Oklahoma home. For the first time since his passing, his family and closest friends stepped into the house without him. The air felt heavy, thick with absence. Every room carried his presence, yet it all seemed frozen in time. Glasses still rested on the kitchen counter. Half-finished lyrics were scattered across a desk, and his boots, always ready by the door, sat untouched, as though he might return at any moment to slip them on. The silence pressed down on everyone who entered, and grief hung in the air like dust caught in a beam of light. At first, the discoveries inside the house felt ordinary, if bittersweet. Closets overflowing with stage outfits, hats, and boots told the story of decades spent under the spotlight. Shelves lined with framed photos of his wife, Tricia, and their children reflected a man who balanced family with fame. His awards, guitars, and plaques decorated the entryway, reminders of the larger-than-life artist who had stood as both patriot and poet. But the deeper they went into the house, the more they realized it wasn't just a museum of memories. There were doors rarely opened, safes that had remained locked for years, and corners of the home that Toby had always guarded closely. Family members remembered moments when he brushed off questions about certain rooms or why particular drawers were sealed shut. They had assumed it was just his way of keeping work life separate from family life. Now, standing in front of those locked doors without him, they felt like invitations. Each lock whispered that Toby had left something behind, and it was finally time to see it. In the basement, a door that had long been mistaken for storage led them to something entirely different. It creaked open slowly, and what lay behind it silenced the room. The space felt bunker-like, concrete walls, dim lighting, air thick with secrecy. It was clear this was no casual storage area. It had been designed carefully, almost like a vault, maintained with meticulous order. Shelves stretched from floor to ceiling, filled with boxes, files, and safes. It wasn't a cluttered hoard, but a carefully curated archive of a life lived in both spotlight and shadow. On one shelf, they found boxes labeled in his neat handwriting. Inside were journals dating back decades, each page filled with the raw, unfiltered thoughts of a man the public had only seen in fragments. There were accounts of his early struggles in the music industry, nights he doubted himself, promises broken by record labels, and moments when he almost walked away. The fearless outlaw image that fans knew was still there, but alongside it lived a man who wrestled with uncertainty, who bore scars the world never saw. Nearby, safes bolted to the floor revealed contracts, private agreements, and legal documents. The family found records of lawsuits and disputes, battles with executives, deals that collapsed, and investments that rose and fell outside of music. Notes scribbled in Toby's handwriting lined the margins. Bet on yourself. Always those words painted a picture of his stubborn independence, the grit that built his empire but also left him carrying battles in silence. Against another wall, a quieter side of him was preserved. Military memorabilia that had never been displayed upstairs filled a corner. Folded flags, medals gifted to him by soldiers, and handwritten notes thanking him for reminding them of home. These weren't for fans or fame. They were deeply personal tokens, reminders of connections forged far from the stage lights. Then, at the center of the room, sat a locked trunk. When it was opened, the air seemed to change. Inside were tapes, cassettes, CDs, and hard drives, hundreds of recordings, many unlabeled, some marked only with dates or single words. The family loaded one into an old player, and suddenly Toby's voice filled the room. Not the polished stadium roar, but the intimate sound of a man singing alone, late at night, with nothing but a guitar. His voice cracked, his laughter broke through between lines, and his songs revealed truths that had never been shared. There were road songs scribbled in rough takes, patriotic tributes stripped down to whispers, and lullabies meant for no audience at all. In another folder, they found demos labeled "For Them." These were songs Toby had recorded for soldiers overseas. Some were heartfelt letters turned into melodies. Others were raw prayers set to simple chords. One was a waltz about leaving the lights on back home, the kind of song that could break even the strongest heart. As they listened, they realized Toby had left behind more than unreleased music. He had left pieces of himself. The recordings revealed a man still experimenting, still searching for truth through melody, even in his final years. Some songs were unfinished, some ended with laughter, others with silence. But together, they painted a picture of an artist who never stopped creating, even when no one was watching. Amid the recordings, the family found a wooden box filled with letters Toby had written but never sent. The envelopes bore names, some familiar, some surprising. A letter to his wife thanked her for holding their family together through the chaos of fame. Letters to his children spoke of pride, regrets, and hopes for their future. There were notes to fellow musicians, confessions of respect, rivalry, and admiration. And there were letters to fans, raw admissions of gratitude, apologies, and honesty. In them, Toby revealed that the stage version of himself was often stronger than the man behind it. Reading those words aloud, the family felt his presence again, like hearing him speak from beyond. Beyond the letters and songs, they uncovered collections that revealed his heart in unexpected ways. Memorabilia from tours, backstage passes, scribbled set lists, gifts from fans, quilts, drawings, letters from children, all preserved with the same care as his gold records. Boxes of baseballs, signed by kids at charity events, sat beside presidential letters of thanks. Vintage records of Hank Williams and Merle Haggard reminded them of the music that shaped his soul. Then came the financial documents, contracts, lawsuits, investments, medical bills, revealing the price he had paid to remain independent. They showed his hidden battles, the risks he took, the losses he endured quietly. Insurance documents and health expenses told another story, one of resilience in the face of illness, a man who protected his family from the full weight of his struggle. Some papers hinted at disputes so secret they remained locked in confidentiality, secrets Toby had intended to take with him. For his family, the discoveries were overwhelming. His wife clutched the letters he had written to her, tears falling at words she wished he had spoken in life. His children felt both pride and sorrow, reading messages that were both guidance and apology. His daughter Crystal lingered over the unfinished songs, recognizing fragments of conversations she would never finish with him. Close friends who entered later were stunned. Some nodded, saying they weren't surprised. Toby had always kept parts of himself hidden. Others wept quietly, realizing how much of him they never truly knew. The financial papers sparked questions and frustration, but even those conflicts only deepened the sense of who Toby really was. Not just the larger-than-life star, but a man who carried heavy burdens in silence. In the end, the hidden rooms, the letters, the recordings, and the collections told a fuller story than any biography or interview ever could. They revealed a man who was fearless in public, but vulnerable in private, who sang with swagger yet wrestled with doubts, who gave his fans strength while quietly fighting his own battles. As the family gathered around the kitchen table, where he had once written songs, shared meals, and laughed with friends, they laid out the letters, the photos, the tapes, the memorabilia. In that moment, grief turned into storytelling, tears into laughter, and silence into healing. They realized that Toby had not just left them memories. He had left them his unfiltered truth. What the world saw was a legend of country music. What his family discovered was the man behind the legend. Flawed, complex, strong, vulnerable, and deeply human. In the end, his legacy wasn't just written in gold records and sold-out tours. It was written in the hidden corners of his home, in the letters unsent, the songs unfinished, and the truths he carried in silence. Even in death, Toby Keith continued to tell his story. Not from the stage, but from the shadows, where his voice now whispers louder than ever.